Hello everybody and welcome to Fleet's Random Ramblings 37. The Shipshape boys are in Scandinavia, but Fleet's still here to provide you with your content that you need to be in the naval history scene. I guess. That's what we're going with, I guess. I know. Silence. Fleet silence. Ha ha! You weren't expecting
That's
that,
very
were you?
odd.
See, I'm lulling them into a false sense of security.
I don't think that's how that works.
Yes, it is. Because I say so.
Hmm.
It's my show, I get to do what I like. Well, let me see. Chris asks the first question. Is it necessarily better to have superfiring mounts spaced apart from each other? It depends. Spacing them out is a luxury rather than a requirement. If you can space them out, it reduces the chances of a catastrophic hit disabling both mounts. But no, it wouldn't need more armor. Well, it depends. Basically, it depends. But yes,
You might need a bit more armor coverage.
You would need more armor coverage, but you wouldn't need thicker armor. But if it's part of the design from the start, then there's no bad reason not to do it. Especially if you're going for a long hull form, which allows for it. Nothing wrong in doing it. But if you're trying to save weight, you really do want to bring your turrets close together. Decrease the length of your citadel as best you can. What's next? May I ask what exactly is the bomb magazine between the turrets in the first ship design? I have no idea. Brackman asks, how realistic is the Early Worldways 3 issue with torpedo protection and AAA wide turrets? I don't know. It turns out there are things Fleet doesn't actually know. This may shock you.
Dark horror.
Or, more accurately, if you've all been here for a while, it should shock precisely no one that there are things Fleet is willing to say he has no idea about. Did I know French battleships could load poison gas into their shells with 4 holes at the back of their shells? This caused Richelieu and Dunkirk to have dispersion issues. I think the French tried that for a bit, and then they dropped it incredibly hard and just built normal shells. For that reason.
It's more of a case of the shell had an extension, which was meant to be filled with the poison gas powder. That, when fired, if it wasn't filled with the gas tablets, would compress and cause inaccuracy.
Yeah.
But I think fixing that was a post-war thing.
Possibly.
Or that might be in the American shells.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the Americans wouldn't do that. They just build the shell. They just build normal shells. I can't see the Americans building bespoke shells with gas cartridges for the French, which would require even more complexity and time to train on the machines. No, just build a normal shell. What if the Washington Naval Treaty was delayed for another 2-3 years? You're basically seeing... If the only real difference is you're looking at the Washington Naval Treaty locking in that first generation of capital ships as the standard. You're probably looking at the same restrictions, but you're looking at everyone. So you're looking at Japan rolling around with with presumably the Tosas and the Amagis, the Nagatos, Fusos, Issei's, and the Congos as their entire fleet. Basically all of it. Because the Japanese will not be willing to scrap any of their newest ships. They'll probably break up the number 13s on the stocks, although they may be converted into carriers, given their good length to beam ratio and the fact that we will have new of whatever is replacing them. So you're looking at the US having at least 2, possibly 4 Lexingtons, which at the time is not particularly good for them, but with the benefit of hindsight will be very good for them.
Not if they're completed. If they're fully completed as battle cruisers, it might not be so good.
No, it will be. You just let fleet cook. Let fleet cook. You got the South Dakota 1921s, which there were supposed to be 4 of, which 23 knots, that puts them on par with the Revengers in terms of speed, and I don't think anyone's arguing that a South Dakota 1921 would lose a fight to a Revenge, because
I'd hope not.
It's a better ship. It's a better ship.
I'd hope, almost a decade later sort of thing would do better.
But it gives the US a slightly faster wing that's not the Lexingtons. So yes, you have the 20 knot standards, but then you've also got this slightly faster wing of South Dakotas they can also rely on. You're looking at everything that isn't a standard going, so there'll be no 12-inch ships left in the US Navy once this Washington Treaty is wrapped up. You're probably looking at whatever follows on from the Lexingtons being lined up for carrier conversion and seeing something similar to the Lexingtons in terms of, capabilities, aircraft count, things like that. I can't see any reason why you change the displacement limits for capital ships. You might see them upped by a little bit, but you might also see a desire to scale back the cost of capital ships. So it's fairly likely, in my opinion, you'd see something in the region of what we're used to, so 35,000 tons, maybe 40,000 tons, possibly, yeah, somewhere between those two figures. You're looking at the French sat there with their head in their hands crying, as the Italians will probably... If there's no naval treaty... If there's no naval treaty and it's 23, which means if it's delayed for 2-3 years, that means the conference starts 2-3 years late, which means it's... Because negotiations started in... And when did the Washington Treaty negotiations start? So they started in 21. Yeah, November 21. So if they're starting in November 23, correct me if I'm wrong, you two, but I think Mussolini's taken over Italy by that point, hasn't he? But if he's...
Not my area of expertise, I'm afraid.
I'll just go poke Wikipedia quickly. I'll just go poke Wikipedia. Yes, so yes, they have taken over. Italy's been in for a year. If Mussolini's in, I think we're looking at either Francesco Calciarello being finished, either as a battleship or as a carrier, because she was still
No.
around.
I don't think we are.
Why not? I can't think of any.
Because for the same reason she wasn't finished historically. Money.
Money.
Well, yeah, but there's a difference between the government that cancelled her being, because she's still around. The part of the reason she's cancelled is because the treaties come in, and it's a good excuse.
The main reason is they couldn't afford to work on them.
Well, no, they could afford to work on them. They just chose not to. A lot of the navies, the only nation that can't afford to work on capital ships in this period is France, because France is just buggered. The others choose not to. I'm going off.
The reason why I'm going to primarily disagree with you here is she was attempted to be finished in multiple different versions, and they were all deemed just too expensive, and even eventually, just finishing her as an actual battleship was too expensive.
No, Dragon. All of the plans were made, but they never made any start on them because they didn't. The budget was never released. If Mussolini's in power,
money.
Because it's the post-war Italian economy. It's decided that's one diving into a concrete bathtub is a good idea.
Yes, but if you build something, you have to pay people. And that means that there's money in the economy. Like, me and Dr. Clark have been talking about this.
Theoretically, yes.
But if the state doesn't have the money to buy it,
they
and already has a lot of debt.
Yeah, Foxo, it's Benito Mussolini. Do you really think he's going to let such practicalities as increasing debt?
Because
also,
this isn't Mussolini of the 30s and World War II. This is Mussolini of he's just gone into power. His power's not secured.
Yeah, but
he actually has to rule.
But what a way to get a major brownie point win by putting money into the economy and funding this ship to completion, and also building a new powerful flagship for the Italian fleet. Because he's putting money into the economy by paying the workers to build it. He's reigniting certain parts of industries, rolling mills, gun foundries, etc. Like, even if it's only temporarily.
Wait, the government's struggling to keep the lights on at their own buildings at this point.
One battleship.
This is it.
Battleship is not going to. The Italians have the capability to complete her. They just chose not to.
Yeah, because they
don't have finance reasons.
Because of finances.
Primarily.
Yes, but
because Italy was struggling to keep the lights on. You don't build battleships when you can't keep the lights on.
It is directly said that the biggest problem that stopped them was chronic budgetary issues preventing them ever be finished. The only reason Francesco Caracciolo was basically launched was to be scrapped. To get it to elsewhere so the dockyards could perhaps be used for something else. I wish I could agree with you, Fleet, because it would be really interesting to see them. But I just think overall, it's not quite feasible for the Caracolios.
Maybe. I mean, I'll have to agree to disagree on that one. I'll have to disagree on that one. I mean, there is an option to build her steadily and slowly. Like, you do a bit of work on her here, a bit of work on her there. Like, you don't have to. You can build capital ships at a slow rate. Especially if you've got the treaties, and technically she could be grandfathered into the treaties, given her size. She's actually just under the limit for battleships, so she could be worked on slowly. And I think, especially if you got, I'm talking like a 5, 6, 7 year building spree, like building time, during which she will probably be tinkered with as she's completed. So God knows what form she'd come out like.
At that point, it's probably better just to be unfortunately just going, this ship's almost too old at this point to
What?
be of that much use.
Because she's the most
she's taking up
powerful
a
ship.
let-
She's the most
let me
powerful
finish,
ship in the
please.
Mediterranean.
Wait, let him finish.
I was
Right.
still talking.
I had stopped actually, but anyway, right. The reason why I don't think you will flee is she's picking up a very valuable capital ship dockyard. Is she not?
Yeah, that they're not using to build anything else because
They might end up in this situation though. They might end up trying to use it for something else, or
we've
just
already...
want to refit some of the older ships.
Yes, but that doesn't happen. Yeah, but that doesn't happen until the mid-30s. That whole
Also, after this point, how long are we talking this ship's been in construction for? Considering, keep in mind, Francesco Caracciolo herself was laid down in 1914. If we're going off, it's 1921ish, and they're still going, oh, we'll try and build her slowly over a period of another 5 years.
Okay.
That's over this is
degradation.
over a decade of being construction in a dockyard.
It would undoubtedly lead to issues, but that...
It's at that point, it's easier just to scrap it and begin with something new.
Yeah, but it's a possibility that they could do. I wasn't
Also,
arguing whether they would do.
developments of the time
Because-
might encourage them to do other
because
things
you
as well.
know what my opinion is, they'd complete her just normally. That's my opinion.
Why?
Because
But Italy
can't-
doesn't have a reason to. That's what gets me.
it gives them a fast, powerful capital ship
Yeah.
that can,
But think about it. The French aren't doing shit.
yes, obviously. Well, do you want? I'll give you a price for that one.
Yeah. The Turks, there's no Turks. The Austro-Hungarians, there's no Austro-Hungarians anymore.
Yes.
The only possible enemy might be Britain, and admittedly Mussolini might be looking towards Britain.
And it's a
Here's
case of
Mussolini.
you're looking at Italy is already in a severe economic crisis, and the the UK, the Americans, the Germans, everyone else can justify it going, there's a threat there. But who's the threat for Italy to justify it
Well,
when you've got issues of you're struggling to keep the lights on at home?
I mean, I suppose. I mean, I think this is one of those where we'll have to agree to disagree here. Because I
said, considering again they didn't. I agree with your points. But I do kind of. It's just again, if by the sheer fact that they couldn't afford to swap her into anything else, because they did want to try and keep her. You're right about that. They initially did want to keep her because she's a decent element.
She can be kept, but there will have to be there'll have to be some creative accounting, and she'll have to be built in such a way that it'll be slow. But they can do it. But they can do it. We've gotten sidetracked on this whole thing. So to get back to the important bit here, jury's out on whether the Francesco Caracciolo will be in, but the French and Italians haven't. So just to keep it simple, the French and Italians haven't changed at all, fleet composition wise. The French might have been working up some form of cruisers. So the thing that will probably be different is what the cruisers look like for the Washington Naval Treaty, because that's 3 additional years of cruiser development without treaty restrictions. So I don't know I can't predict what that would look like. There's no way for me to know that.
You probably don't get Aerith users.
Oh no, you're looking at a displacement higher than 10,000 tons. Absolutely. But
I genuinely think so. The minimum you would see is 8 6-inch guns, sort of as the absolute minimum for cruisers.
Well, yeah, but that's.
I don't.
I guess unless you're doing a long range
cruiser still has its role.
Yeah,
let's take away that role. Why would it change?
No, I'm saying 6-inch. I'm just saying you probably won't see Aerith user with the 6-inch. You probably more see Leander style 8-6-inch.
Yeah, that'll probably be about the minimum diminutive you can really go with, since you're regular.
Because at this point you're no longer trying to basically eke out every last ton you can.
Although you might actually see you might actually see 2 different cruiser designations at Washington, with the large cruiser as a small capital unit, being a vessel of about 12 to 1400 tons,
I
and being limited.
don't see that being a thing.
Well,
That's basically that's just what you're referring to there. Fleet is a heavy cruiser.
yes, I am, but I'm not.
So I don't
calling
think
it
you
a
would see them
heavy
as a large.
cruiser.
They would still be called a heavy cruiser though.
Unlikely. They probably would be called a large cruiser, since heavy cruiser was a term invented by Second London, and cruisers were, well, every cruiser in existence at that point was an armored cruiser. There wasn't the old split between armored and protected that used to define vessels. But even
heavy cruisers were first dictated in the Washington.
No, they weren't, Dragon.
But
heavy cruisers
the idea
invented.
of splitting between them. The London Treaty reinforced it.
No. First, heavy cruiser and light cruiser were terms invented by First London. There were just cruisers at Washington. The term was retroactive.
I still do not see them being called large cruisers, because that term makes very little sense.
Whatever the term is doesn't matter. Still, there will be a split. It doesn't. You don't have to jump down my throat every time I say something you slightly disagree with.
I mean, we don't have to, but where's the fun in that?
I'm beginning to get more and more annoyed by it every time it happens. I don't mind.
Then, if you wish, we'll just disappear. That's something that can be done.
I don't mind debates, but just don't jump down my thing for everything. Anyway, so large cruisers, whatever we're calling them, but you will see a split basically, and I reckon that'll come about for the same reason that there was no cap on cruiser tonnage, as in the amount you could build during Washington, because the British and the French will dig their heels in, but the US will go, you really can't expect us to allow you to build as many cruisers of 1,500 tons as you like. So what we'll do is we'll have a category for cruisers, which will be 8,000-9,000, possibly 10,000 tons in that range, and then you'll have whatever the term will be: prestige cruiser, large cruiser, heavy cruiser, flag cruiser, whatever you want to call it, which will be 1,500 tons, which will probably be represented by the biggest designs that have come out of the various yards that are being planned by various yards at that point.
Okay, I'm not the only one who finds the idea of a flag cruiser inherently hilarious, am I?
It makes no sense under most people's doctrines.
It was just a term I spat out. You don't have to examine it, and I'm shutting it down.
Why not just use historical?
Because
almost all of the parties are going to be here. It's likely they'll still consider heavy cruisers with 8-inch guns, light cruisers with 6.1 inch.
Well, no, because the cruisers that will be coming out of yards will probably be armed with 9.2s in Britain.
Why?
Because that's the British large.
So why did Britain already start developing 8? No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
That's the armored cruiser caliber, sure, but not the heavy cruiser caliber at this point.
That's the historical large cruiser caliber, because there is no such thing as a heavy cruiser caliber at this point, Dragon, because the heavy cruiser doesn't exist. So if they're going
the British are looking at the 8-inch rapid-fire guns for their cruisers.
Yes, but those are for their light cruisers, so the 8-inch gun will probably be adopted.
No.
Well, not for light cruisers, for their cruisers generally. If we have no limit on displacement, then we might see some larger vessels appear, which is why we'll see this other large cruiser. We may or may not. I'm just spitballing here, but I personally can see this split occurring.
I can't see that for the simple thing of battle cruisers still exist.
Well, yes.
And this is sort of the height of the battle cruiser.
Well, yes, but they're battle cruiser, one word, rather than battle cruiser hyphen 2 words, which is an entirely different vessel. The battle cruiser, one word, is an adjective.
The battle cruisers, 2 words, are still around.
Yes, but they are rapidly leaving fleets and being planned to leave fleets because no one's building them anymore because they.
See, the Royal Navy is. The Royal Navy is.
You also literally.
The Americans are. The Americans are building Lexingtons.
Yes.
Right, go on, please.
Japanese are looking at it. Don't go with it.
Well, no, the Amagis are battle cruisers, one word. The G3s are battle cruisers, one word.
Yeah, and also the British weren't just developing the G3s.
Yes, but the G3s are what they went with because they realised that the battle cruiser hyphen two words was a concept that had had its day and needed to be put to one side.
Not quite, but
yes, it had had its day. It was the age of that vessel had been and gone.
But they hadn't set it right. They hadn't set it aside. The Royal Navy was experimenting on, will this new class of capital ship obsolete our dreadnoughts, our battle cruisers? Which is why you get all the variation in the G3s, because they're trying to figure out what the fuck's this thing's job, now we can build it.
I feel like we're poking hairs at semantics which really aren't related to the question and don't really matter.
I just love my battle cruisers. It's got me talking about battle cruisers, fleet.
It is still going into what the question of the aspects of how things are going to change with the treaty coming a bit later. Personally, I actually don't see that much changing because I don't think even a year or two will make that much difference. I agree with most of your initial points that whatever stuff is laid down gets far enough along will be argued to keep it because the country will go, well, we just spent all this money on it, we're not going to give it up so quickly.
There's a difference between converting a half-built hull into a carrier and ripping guns and turrets off a ship that's been launched and is near complete fitting out. It's the hood.
It's why I genuinely think Lexington's being built actually might not be a good thing for the US. Because honestly, the US got some pretty excellent carriers.
Oh no, they did.
Which massively helped US aviation development.
But whatever follows the Lexingtons will be convertible into carriers of probably equivalent performance. Which is, whatever.
Will they, though?
Yeah, most likely, because the US will probably want some form of follow-on to the Lexingtons.
Will they?
Yeah, probably.
I want to say yes, but...
Well, whatever...
I'm suspicious, partly just because we all know the inherent flaws of the Lexington, and I suspect on sea trials, the actual Lexingtons as battlecruisers built, flaws might get known. So they might try and go for fast battle ships a bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean,
which won't be as good for the carrier role.
I mean, are they going? I mean, all that is required to be good for the carrier role is to have a long hull and slender lines, which can then be built up into a carrier. That's whether it's a fast battleship or some form of
battle high speed's usually better.
Yeah. So
and the Lexington's being designed for their ludicrous 35 knots.
Yeah. So if whatever follows, as long as whatever follows the Lexingtons will be something of 30 knots plus, which it probably will be since it's got to follow the Lexingtons and perform a similar role to them, and the US won't want to give up that speed, whatever follows them will be capable of being converted into a carrier. And of course the Lexingtons will be upgraded and refit, as I've said before, into excellent fast carrier escorts and fast battleships in the interwar period. Because you've got so much...
And they need to pray not to take hit.
Well, no, you can fix that, because you've got so much weight you can free up by dropping 3 knots of speed from 35 to... Sorry, even...
But at that point you are also completely rebuilding the armor belt, which is problematic.
It's problematic, but it's still cheaper than building a new ship.
It's why, genuinely, after the Lexingtons, I don't see them actually wanting to build a ship of that type.
Oh no!
I see them scaling back a lot more.
What follows the Lexingtons will be some form of fully armored battlecruiser or fast battleship. It'll be a different vessel entirely, but it will still be fast enough and big enough to make a good carrier conversion.
I don't see it hitting 30 knots.
I do.
Because, as historically we see the US only tend to go to around 28-ish until we get much later, and I
don't remember fleet. Not even the fast battleship version of the G3s. Was it were only 28 knots?
What? No, they weren't. They were 32.
No, you're thinking of the battlecruiser versions.
Yeah, this is getting into the point where
were built, which were designed and had the same bracing. They were battle cruisers. The actual the non-hyphen versions were 28. Which is why the G3s are complicated. And so many people get them wrong.
Honestly, I think Japan will go with Amagis, and might. The only thing I'm a little suspicious
Japan.
about is
Oh, no.
number 13.
Oh no, Japan.
Might-
Japan will. I mean, the lineups of what each side's going to get is actually really quite simple. Britain gets the N3s and G3s. US gets the South Dakotas and the Lexingtons, and
Britain doesn't get the M3s.
Why not? What possible
The
argument?
M3s are abandoned.
I think the problem you might encounter
the
is
G3s take
they've
the
got
place
18 in
of the N3s.
But the N3s are
Because
building
the British
at the time of
don't like
Washington.
the M3s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
think
they
right.
but they've soft cancelled them.
I think
they might try and build
still,
them. The
they have
issue
to
I
build-
see more is people in the treaty will go, well, you've got 18-inch guns. No one else here has 18-inch guns.
I remember.
Either you let us build new ships of 18-inch, which Britain might be very against, or you basically have them going, well, we're not going to work with you if you're not allowing equivalent.
Why would they
Why would they
soft cancel the most powerful battleships? Why?
Because
They were very slow.
The 23 knots.
it was
that
because
But 23 knots is slow.
it's the it's
because they
equivalent
have
to the Revengers.
But
Yes.
the Revengers were deemed slow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's the
yeah,
point.
the Revengers weren't deemed fit at the time for post-war service. It's the treaties that keep them around.
It's that
But
we
you
can't
have to
build anything
remember,
to replace.
the Royal Navy is looking for 25, 26 knots fleet speed, which the N3s do not fit.
Well, then they have to build. It doesn't matter. They have to build them anyway because they have to. They don't have a choice. Because if they don't, then how are they gonna? Then the US is going to be superior when the treaties happen, so they have to build them.
Is it?
Yes,
They're
they'll have 4
Called
modern.
G3s.
Yeah, 4 of them, Foxo. The US has 8 modern 16-inch capital ships, not including the Colorados. The RN's not going to accept that.
This is all assuming that all of them also get it. Like,
Yeah, and you're assuming the British don't just go, we like this version of the G3, or, oh hey,
so
any of the massive other 16-inch capital ship designs we've got, we build those instead. It's part of the issue of the Treaty era Royal Navy. They have that many different ships, it's hard to tell.
The US then can just be forced to scrap a bunch of ships. No, they're not.
actually, no,
no,
that's
they're
something that
not.
genuinely might occur.
No, they're not. You can't. No, you. No.
Right, so first of all, I don't think they're getting all of the South Dakotas to begin with.
Well,
I
why
don't see
not?
Massachusetts being finished.
Why not?
Because by April, she was laid down in 21, and by 1922, she was only 11% completed.
Well, yeah, because
Even
that
if you
was-
give it an extra year, she's not. I don't
Yeah,
think she's
Dragon.
going to be
That's
complete
because
enough.
Dragon. That's because work slowed due to the treaty negotiations and rumors about her
Right,
fate.
but fleet. Even during this, they are still. Massachusetts is the slowest of them in terms of development. I don't see them getting 6. I see them potentially getting 5, but not 6. Because they could raise an actual argument for that one's the least finished. You're not you need to scrap her. Would probably the argument made is to try and balance out numbers again. If you scrap that one, that brings you more in line with everyone else. Japan's got the 8-8. Britain's also building 8. This would leave America with 9.
Britain's,
if you go with all 4
Britain's building
Lexingtons.
8 if they've got
and then
the
if you
N3s. If they're only building the G3s, they've only got 4.
This is my whole point, though. Of if this is then the case, that's happening. If you want to go off just 16-inch armed ships alone, you've got Colorados, 4 of them potentially.
I mean, the British will
Lexingtons,
probably demand to
and
build.
Then 6 South Dakotas.
Yeah, the British will probably demand.
I can't see.
Oh
the
no!
others being
Oh no!
happy.
Oh no! Oh, I can't believe it. I'm an idiot. It'll be like historical. The British will demand to build 4 new capital ships to 40,000 tons, just like they built the 2 Nelsons to 35,000 tons. That's what they'll do.
More than likely, yeah.
You'll have the 4
I think they would try and go with a new design.
Yeah, you'll have the 4 G3s and then 4 treaty battleships of 40,000 tons, which will probably just be Nelsons, but not.
Once again, I do see the treaty trying to stay away from 18-inch guns.
Yeah, Yeah, whatever the we're basically looking at
And also,
Nelson's, but
you
not
probably,
cramped.
you'll probably see 16. You'll probably see 16.5s as the sort of maximum caliber.
No,
'cause-
no, it'll be no, it's
yeah,
no, it's no,
yes,
it's
no,
no, it's
it'll be
16s.
16.5.
Well, no,
it's 16.5.
no,
please.
it'll be 16s.
Please,
No,
let
it'll-
me finish, please. Let me. Right. Shall I tell you why?
You can
For
tell
one
me, but
very
you
simple
can tell me,
reason.
but I'm going to laugh in your face and tell you you're wrong. But go on.
Britain by this point doesn't have a 16-inch gun.
Okay.
They've got a 16.5,
Yes, I'm aware.
and the 16.5 is in service with four
Yeah.
of their newest assets.
Yes,
They
but-
are not at this
yeah.
point. They will not accept having to set up an entirely new line for a significantly worse gun that they don't want.
Well, tough shit. If they want to be able to build 4 new capital ships, then they're going to have to.
I don't
Yeah,
think that's
but,
how
right,
international
that's-
negotiations
Yeah, that's
work.
how you just get the British to go, yeah, no, we're not signing this.
You have to give the British something that will want them to stay.
But there's giving them a 16.5 when everyone else has 16s and letting the British build.
The argument would be everyone can build up to 16.5.
Yeah, but everyone. Yeah, but everyone.
16 point,
Yeah,
keep in mind the Japanese are using 16.1.
Yeah,
already.
which is so close to being the same fucking caliber. It's not even bloody worth it.
It's still a technical difference that could be raised up.
Yes, but
And
that's,
if there's one thing
yeah,
the
but
British are very good at, it's being pedantic.
Yeah, but the difference between 16.1 and 16.5 is actually meaningful, whereas 16.1 and 16 is.
But again,
just...
though, I don't. You are going to have to find some way to force Britain into wanting to accept that.
Yeah.
And the problem is, they might just not.
Yeah, but the thing...
If they can't get that, and they just go,
Yeah,
no,
they
then
might just
we'll
not,
leave.
but there's no way the other powers are going to say, yes, Britain, you can have 16.5-inch guns, and we'll let you build 4 additional ships, which will give you 8 ships that are infinitely more powerful than ours. No.
But the 16.5 isn't infinitely more powerful.
It's not the guns themselves that... It's just... They're still more powerful. It's still a more powerful gun than the 16-inch gun. The other powers are... Yes, Japanese 16.1, but blah, blah, blah. I don't care
And
about the
also,
fucking
then you've
pedantics.
also got number of guns. Like, these will likely still only have 9 guns. You then look over at America over there with 12 16-inch guns.
Yes, but...
Like,
Yeah,
they
but-
will be very easily able to make an argument of that 9 16.5s is not equivalent to 12 16-inch guns. The 12 guns is better overall, to be honest.
Yes, but the platform they're mounted on is... Well, the South Dakotas are nice ships, but they still have that 12-inch armor belt left over from the... And they're still relatively
I agree,
slow.
there's definitely flaws. But Britain could probably argue the point of, we're only mounting 9 guns on our ships. You're mounting 12.
I think this is one of those things where we're going to have to agree to disagree, because I can see the British basically being told, if you want 4 more capital ships, design a 16-inch gun. We won't force you to scrap or rebuild your G3s, but if you want 4 more capital ships,
Britain's ammunition's situation becomes even weirder.
I mean, if it was 2 ships, I'd agree, but with 4 ships,
I don't see necessarily 4. I see
16.5,
probably 3.
no, it'll probably be 4, because then that gives the US, because that gives the 553, that gives the US 8, so it gives the US 9 weaker 16-inch ships, the British 8 more powerful 16.5-inch ships, and the Japanese 4 modern 16-inch ships in the form of the 2 Tosas and the 2 Amagis. And then you've got the other. Then you've got the Nagatos bringing it up to the 6.
I said honestly,
16-inch ships.
I genuinely actually have trouble seeing the treaty forming later, because also by this point, Japan is well on its way to Japan's well on its way to the 8-8.
It doesn't matter whether the treaty's forming later, because that's outside the scope of the question. Because the question was simply a flat, I'm doing this, therefore this is happening. It doesn't matter.
You might, unless you force everyone to a table with a gun at their heads.
Yeah, but
There's
Dragon, it doesn't
let me
matter.
finish.
No, because
please.
I'm not going off on another tangent that I can't afford. I want to keep things moving today.
Then go on. Then move on.
I'm going to. What is this question? Chris says, my English summer project is to write historical fanfiction, and I did Jutland. How realistic does his timeline seem? Does this lineup seems realistic. German capital units of 22 Dreadnought batches, 3 Nassau's. Where's the 4th one? 4 Helgolands. So yeah, where are the other 2 Nassau's? Where's the 5th Helgoland? There are the 5 Kaisers. Where's the 5th Königs? There are 4 Bayerns and there are 2 L-20E Alphas. 11 battle cruisers, 1 von der Tann, 2 Moltke, 1 Seydlitz, 2 Deflinger. Where's Hindenburg? 3 Mackinson. Where's the 4th? 2 Ersatz York. There's a lot of...
Are they even going to build 4 Bayerns?
Yes. Well, 2 and 2 half-sisters. But I assume
Right, so
they've all been...
they're not quite Bayerns. I guess
Yeah,
I get
but
that fair.
they're close enough.
Yeah,
for
close enough. Yeah.
The thing that I find interesting is that everything prior to the Bayerns was classes of 5. 5 Nassau's, 5 Helgolands, 5 Kaisers, 5 Königs, and that was the drumbeat. They dropped to 4 with the Bayerns because of
My big thing with this is, how are they affording this?
I think we'll get to that in a minute. Total size of the Grand Fleet, aided by the U.S. Navy and Marine Nationale. Why are the French here? Why are the... I will get to that bit in a second. 41 Dreadnought Masters. 1 Dreadnought. Why is she here? She should be leading the Channel squadrons of pre-Dreadnoughts. 3 Bellerophons, 2 St. Vincents. Where's the 3rd one? 1 Neptune, 1 Colossus, 1 Agincourt, 2 Colossus, where are the other 2? 4 Orions, 4 King George V, 4 Iron Duke, 5 Queen Elizabeth, 5 Revenge class, 7 American Dreadnoughts, 2 Wyomings, 2 New Yorks, 2 Nevadas. Why are the Nevadas and Pennsylvania's here? They're oil-fired, that's tapping Britain's oil reserves, which they need for the QEs and Revenges. They specifically asked the Americans not to send oil-fired ships for that reason. Additionally, France sent out 2 Dreadnoughts led by Admiral Fournier, forming the 4th Reserve Squadron, 2 Corbeil class. Why are they here? They're supposed to be watching the Austro-Hungarians and locking down the Mediterranean. The battlecruiser force was led by Admiral Sinclair, stationed aboard Hedge of Renown. 14 battlecruisers, 2 Invincibles, 2 Indefatigables, 2 Lions, 1 Tiger, 2 Lions? Oh yeah, there were 2. 1 Tiger. Where's Queen Mary? She was a one-off. Where's Queen Mary? 1 Tiger, 2 Renowns, 3 Courageouses. Oh dear God, why are they there? Additionally, Japan sent a pair of battle cruisers led by the far... Admiral Togo had been promoted well out of fleet command by this point. Well out of fleet command. They're forming the 4th Reserve Squad, and they're joining the 4th Reserve Squadron with the Corbeils. Why are the Congos with the Corbeils? No! They're your 2 most powerful battle cruisers, arguably more so than the Renowns at this point, given the Renowns' unrebuilt armor layout. At this point. And you've got them...
doubting my baby girl.
No, I'm not doubting them, I'm just calling the Congos better than the Renowns at this point in time.
Those be fighting words.
No, those be truthful words. But there's a lot here that I have to question.
Yeah, I agree.
So, the first thing is, could you keep an eye on the chat for me, Dragon, while I'm actually up here, so go down to the bottom in case any clarifications are given.
I'll try, but I suspect Foxer won't be happy, but oh well. Right, go on. As you're going talking, please.
Okay, so, 3 Nassau's. Where are the other 2 members of the class? Why aren't there 5? Same thing with the Helgolands. Why aren't there 5? Same thing with the Königs and the Bayerns, except, sorry, with the Königs. Where are the 5th members? Why aren't those why aren't there 5 ships, basically? And you say this is Jutland. If it's happening at the same time, where have all these ships come from?
Yeah.
There's a lot. Oh, sorry. No. There were actually only. Sorry, my memory's going. There were actually only. So again, so it's 1 missing for the Nassau's.
We magicked the economy.
So all of the Helgolands are there.
Where's Germany getting the dockyards for this?
All the Königs are there. Which is fine. Yeah, where are Germany getting? Yeah, where are the slips coming from for this? You can't. They've been magicked as well.
Well, they'll have to be.
And again, where is like? There's a lot of ships missing. Have there been other battles before this?
Still more realistic than Kaiser, right?
a number of ships here just would not be present.
Yeah, so
Like-
so I have less issues with the German lineup. So I'm just going to say this
Because
first
they will
and
bring
foremost.
every ship they can.
Yeah, I have
If
less
they're planning
issues.
to do an operation like this.
Yeah, I have less issues with that, especially the number of cruisers and destroyers. That's actually fairly close to what a late war sortie could scrape together if they've.
Not
Yeah.
if they're building these other ships, though.
I know, but just roll with me here.
Yeah, fair
I'm
enough.
having to ignore holes
Yes.
and just go with
You're
me.
not missing a hole. You're missing an iceberg tore out a section of it.
I'm aware. So the real problem here is the. So by this point, if you've got the US coming in, the Blair from St. Vincent's and even Dreadnought would be with the Channel Fleet.
Well, as we know, Dreadnought's already gone by 60.
Yeah,
She's already in the channel, so.
but if you've got all of the Revengers now, there's
Yeah.
no reason to keep the Bellerophons and
all
St.
of the
Vincent's.
all of the basically the first gen dreads are gone, I would say.
Like the oldest ship should be Neptune. Also, where's so Agincourt, Colossus. So you got the Orions, KGVs, and Iron Dukes. So Wyoming's and New York's, yep, absolutely. But the Nevadas and the Pennsylvanias, they should not be there. The Americans were specifically asked, do not send oil-fired battleships. We do not want oil-fired battleships. Our oil logistics are already strained enough as it is, providing fuel for the QEs and Revengers. We don't need anything else straining that. The most egregious thing here, though, are the two Corbett's. Why are they here? France has precious few dreadnoughts, and I hate to break it to you, but the margin of superiority over the Austro-Hungarians has gone from crushing to enough of a margin that the Austro-Hungarians might think we might risk a sortie if the Corbett's aren't there. Especially if two of them aren't there. Because the Austrians have 4 dreadnoughts plus 2 semi-dreads of fairly good quality. And depending on what the Otranto barrage currently consists of, that is no longer a crushing force. Depends where the Italian ships are, depends what's happening with them. Again, you've put thoughts into the Austrians' mind, which is not good, and also it's just bad strategic thinking anyway. And again, the most egregious thing, why are the Congos here?
They were like, Japan would not send them because they don't need to, for one, and also it's such a long distance. They would prefer to have them in their home waters.
The Congos only arrive if the situation has gone horrifically bad for the British. If basically the Congos only arrive if the battlecruiser fleet is destroyed. And Britain needs new battlecruisers right now. And in that case, all of them come. Not just 2. That's basically my thoughts on this. There's a lot in this lineup that needs to be changed. But apart from that, that's my thoughts on this lineup.
Also, exploring your reasoning of how certain things actually did come into place, apart from magic, might be.
Yes, you're gonna have to
good
explain
making it work.
Yeah.
Like, saying they magically appear works excellent for thought debates, but for trying to actually write a piece of historical fiction or something, things break down.
Yeah. Thoughts on to the USN converting an Essex into an amphibious assault ship? Do you think it's like a test bed for future LHD and LHA designs? Yes, I think that's exactly what it is. Obviously, I think that's exactly what it is. That's literally, obviously without the landing dock, but that's basically entirely what it is. The helicopter carrier conversions in the 50s and 60s were stepping stones on the road to what we know as the modern amphibious assault ship, in its various forms. A vessel with the capacity to operate helicopter aviation.
I'm afraid I can't actually argue with Fleet this time.
What is your favourite pre-World War II non-military plane, not including transport planes?
We're kind of running out of planes then.
Yeah, because...
While there are indeed some...
you know, I'm fond of the Gypsy. I'm fond of the Gypsy Moth, the thing that would become the Tiger Moth. Very, very, very nice biplane. Easy to fly. Introduced a lot of people to flying in the interwar period. Just overall nice.
I'll be honest, civilian planes of the time are not ones I'm too familiar with.
Yeah.
More the military development side,
yeah.
so can't comment.
Chris, the answer to that question that you've just asked is C. That is a KGV dressing up as a modern KGV. I've seen that image before.
Oh, is that Centurion
Yes,
pretending
yes, it
to
is.
be what's that called? Yeah.
Chris asks, what if the Atlantas had triples? They don't work.
The Atlantas end up becoming submarines that are potentially.
They don't work. The US
Right.
has no 5-inch triple mount, and even if they do, congratulations, you know, congratulations. Well, not even top weight. You no longer have a cruiser with dual purpose guns. You just don't.
I agree with your points entirely. I just genuinely do think if they did do this, we'd have a Vaza situation on our hands, almost.
Oh no, Dragon!
As soon as they get some rough weather.
Well, no, Dragon. Come on, let's be feasible here. If they have triple turrets, they're different ships to accommodate them. Let's be real.
Right. I'm assuming a similar sort of tonnage level.
No,
I don't see the same level. Well, right.
I mean,
The Atlantis were built like they were for a reason. If they have triples, you might see 4x3. Is something I would say you might see. But that's still a lot of top weight for how light the hull is.
Then
you would have to
then
widen the hull thickness.
Yeah, they'll be different. This is the thing. You can't just slap
There's a lot of problems.
Yeah, well, it's not a lot of problems. They're just different. They're just different ships that do different roles, basically, at this point. Well, no, with the same role, but just they are incredibly bad in terms of AA. What is this ship from Roblox? It's a ship from Roblox. There you are. It looks like either a Nelson or that Russian battleship. It's one of the. It's
called
inspired.
Project 23.
Yeah, it's inspired by one of those two, but that's basically it.
You've got Project 21, 20, and 23, I think.
What if the highest RBG against France? It's a land war.
Oh yes, RBG. Don't you have that question you've been meaning to ask Fleet the past few
Turks
weeks?
just sit there recovering. Chris asks, again, a lot of questions from Chris. What if the High Seas Fleet sorted into a portal storm was spat out during World War II? In 1939. Already answered this.
You've done this one, haven't we?
Yep, go and watch the video on... I mean, this time they come with crew, so it's different. But the outcome is pretty much the same. Go and watch the first ramblings featuring Dr. Clark. We discuss basically this at length, so I'm not going to go over that again, because it is actually a live-streamed dry dock.
It was a quite fun one, honestly.
Yeah, it was. What if said portal storm hammers to Bismarck, goes in the portal, spawns back in Wilhelmshaven in 2024? Oh, very simple. The ship is put at gunpoint and ordered to surrender, and the crew are taken off and tried as war criminals. Every single one of them.
No, I don't think they're tried as war criminals.
The Dragon, they're Nazis. They're tried as war criminals.
No, they're not.
Right,
Fleet.
They are Germans in the 40s.
They're German.
Wait, remember, even the Nazis, the war crimey ones, the Holocausty ones, they had trials with evidence.
This is
and if your only evidence of being evil and Nazis, you were a part of the Kriegsmarine.
Foxo, this is modern Germany.
Yeah.
And also, but then...
and modern Germany has
human
deeply
rights.
enshrined in it, everyone has the right to a trial.
Yeah.
A fair and impartial trial.
Yes.
If you can't find evidence they've murdered a bunch of people, you can't convict them for murdering a bunch of people.
The problem is the German government can't release them because they're 1940s era Germans. They
they might not be able to release them, but they will be able to start reintegrating them slowly. It'll take time and effort.
Maybe, but they're always going to be under suspicion, as they should be, and they're always going to be under watch, as they should be, because they're 1940s era Germans.
Yeah.
And the ship will probably be scrapped.
Oh, almost certainly. Certain things might be taken off to be preserved in museums, but almost certainly scrapped.
There's no way the German government is keeping that ship. No way.
Honestly, actually, Bismarck might be the better of the two, but
Britain might be interested in keeping her because that would be very funny as a trophy.
Honestly,
no, it wouldn't be.
Stick her and Scarpa Flow as a war memorial to both sides.
Yeah, possibly.
Because that is something we would do. We would not.
Are you trying to make a Nazi holy site?
There is that problem.
But how are they going to get to Scarpa? How are they going to get to Scarpa Flow?
They'll find a way.
And if they do, just throw them in the water. They can't swim.
No, yeah. The American ones regularly go to Dresden every year.
Yeah, but Dresden's honestly easier to get to than Scarpa Flow. Trust me, I've tried.
Yeah, but Foxo is right. That ship, especially, would be a mecca for them.
Remember, they had to demolish the Führer bunker because where Hitler committed suicide became a mecca for them.
What if Germany lost harder? And I'm looking for the clarification.
What do you mean by lost harder?
Yeah, I'm just looking for that. But while we're...
I know, I just thought I'd vocalize it for you at least, because that's a very hard definition.
What if Chris, again, lots of questions for Chris. What if Nelson and Jellicoe did a body swap and suddenly spawned at their respective battles? Well, Drac has...
wrong.
Drac has answered this. Jellicoe will understand how the battle went historically, so he'll know how to handle, it's still the same. The flag signals are still the same. They've not changed. He will know how the Battle of Trafalgar goes. He's a capable officer. He will know what he's doing.
Trained on Aegis Hill ships?
It doesn't matter.
I think he would leave it to whoever's second in command of the ship. Because he doesn't really have the capability to issue the same orders.
Well, no, he
doesn't know. Does.
No, he does. He does. They're all
he does. Because remember, a big thing about why Nelson was so successful at Trafalgar is he gave his commanders autonomy and let them do what they say they needed to do.
And also, Jellicoe has that high-level head for strategy that Nelson did during the Trafalgar campaign. And he knows how the battle goes. He knows to win. All he has to do is let the battle play out as it did historically. Jellicoe has that knowledge. The real problem here is Nelson. It depends what the thing is, if Nelson is suddenly spawned at his respective battle, then everyone will be first of all, everyone will be in awe. Secondly, Sturdy will take over. Because Nelson will probably, one of the things Nelson is he knows what he knows and he knows what he doesn't know. So he'll be like, I'm clearly not where I was before. These ships are clearly not what I understand. The thing is, as Drac has said, if you put Nelson 2 months before Jutland, he will have the time to thoroughly digest how these new ships work. And he will probably still be able to win the Battle of Jutland. But if you're dropping him right in at the battle, he will probably hand over commands to Admiral Sturdy, who is probably next in line for command, which will probably lead to the fleets being split, and we'll probably see something happen like that. But it's hard to know. But that's basically that. Chris asks, what if BT ran directly into the High Seas fleet instead of battle cruisers? He takes Billy Big steps in the other direction, and the High Seas fleet can't catch him.
It's more battle cruisers survive
because he can take Billy Big steps in the other direction, and the Germans can't chase him.
Although you might get the QEs going. Is that the entire High Seas fleet? Do you reckon we can fight them solo?
And whoever suggests that will be quickly slapped across the back of the head and told no.
Are you doubting the power of Warspite, Dragon?
During the battering she took?
Chris says, yes. What is this ship at the front? Well, it looks like a cruiser
ship
with triple guns in 3 bounce. It's like some weird cross between a Dido and an Atlanta. That's about the size of it. What if the RN got a second Admiral class? Then that will be their That's probably all they'll get. They won't get a third capital ship. Basically because they have 2 ships that, added together, are the tonnage of 3. Of, like, the Colorados, etc. So you'll have the two. You'll have the 2 admirals, and the third reason is the British won't want to build a one-off 16-inch ship, not deliberately.
True, but they probably will want to build another large 15-inch gun, because you've all got 16-inch gunships, and we've now only got 2 15-inch gunships,
Yes.
each with 8 guns.
The problem is, Dragon, those 2 15-inch gun ships are an out-of-context problem for everyone else, and now there's 2 of them. Also the Royal Navy's got another problem, though. What?
They've got 2 8-gun 15-inch armed ships.
Yeah, there are also 32 not 15-inch
Oh yeah,
ships.
they'll definitely help.
Yeah,
The problem is it's still 2
And remember,
ships.
with the Admiralty Fire Control, there's fuck all at the end of the treaties that the Admiral class cannot fight and win.
Yeah, and now
I would
there's 2
argue
of
it would
them.
leave Britain in a worse state later.
No, it wouldn't.
No.
They'd be better. They'd be better. Because
Yeah,
now,
it's a case of you lose a Nelson.
Well, no, you
Yeah.
lose 2 Nelsons.
No,
Well, yeah, right.
yeah, but you've
Actually,
gained another.
you just said you don't want a single one.
Yeah.
You won't have a one-off 16-inch ship.
Yeah.
So you lose both Nelsons.
Yeah, but you've gained
So
another ship in
let's say
exchange.
if you gain 2 admirals,
And there's
you
not
go
2
on
admirals,
for
but
1.
one.
No, yeah, but you've still
no.
got 2. You've
And then
got
the
2.
thing is, no, you
but
get Hood,
you're gonna have
you get
a
Hood and one other, and no 16-inch armed ships.
Okay, that's not a big problem. The RN's probably jumping,
Oh.
punching the air, and he's celebrating
No,
because
yeah,
they've
the
got...
Royal Navy's not going to be happy, and you'll probably notice that Tigers kept around a lot more, and the Iron Dukes are kept as training ships.
Well, they can't keep all.
Don't
of
worry,
them.
they've still got. Oh,
They
they would
can't-
keep as many as
They can.
Well, they can keep. Well,
Now,
The
now
Royal
they're-
Navy has enough overseas stations to justify training around the planet.
and if they're not building that third ship because I love the RM, but they won't. They might actually. You know what, Dragon? You do have a point. They might build.
That's why I think they would build
might-
a revised
Yeah.
15-inch gunship. Probably
Yeah.
not 50,000
Oh!
tons.
No,
But-
they'll build the
what's
bloody
it called?
F3s.
Rook.
No, they'll
Yeah,
build the
Rook,
bloody.
No, they won't.
No, they'll build the. Sorry, not the F3s. Hood. What's the battle cruiser proposal they didn't go with, but they went with the Nelsons instead with the 15-inch guns? What was it called?
You know how little that narrows it down.
Yeah.
The one that Drac always mentions.
J3.
Thank you. They'll build a J3. That's what they'll build.
I
Yeah,
can't see J3. I can't see J3
Why not?
because she has different machinery to the admirals. What I can see is them building a slightly smaller, revised admiral.
Yeah.
The-
Rook,
Yeah, but
J3.
you can't get the
Obviously
Admiral
more
specs on
ships.
35,000 tons.
You can though.
You can't.
The Royal Navy had plans for using small tubes. It's like go for triple turrets with small tubes. The reason why the Royal Navy is so iffy on the Admiral class is because they're right on the edge of where the Royal Navy thinks they can build something much better. That's smaller.
Maybe. But I'm still...
Now, honestly, something like a Rook would be terrifying.
Maybe.
Yeah, just,
Maybe, but I think...
Rook is a
I mean,
3x3
I still
15-inch
think-
armed ship.
I still think that... I'm not... I still think that J3 would be more likely. Because it's got the protection level that's higher. It's got the same speed as them. And to be fair, if it's a J3 with the 615s, it means you've got the pair of admirals as your big 30-knot hitters, and then you've got 3 6 15-inch armed ships in the form of the J3 and the Renowns that are cheaper to run and can serve. You know, they can be everywhere in the Empire because they're cheaper to run and smaller. So you've got like a trio of ships that are Renown, Repulse, and this J3 with 6 15-inch guns. Then you've got Hood and what was the second admiral supposed to be named? Do we know?
Rodney.
Rodney.
Yeah.
So you've got Hood and Rodney. sitting there.
Which isn't confusing at all.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's not good. Admiral Rodney. I'll
Actually,
call
no.
him.
It'll probably be Anson.
Oh yeah, so Hood and Anson.
It'll be
sitting
either,
there.
your option between Anson or Rodney, because
We'll go with Anson, 'cause
Anson,
it's-
Howell, Rodney.
Yeah, we'll go with
It's a bit more
Anson.
different,
Yeah,
at
we'll
least.
go with Anson because it's different. So that means you've got
It's
5.
less confusing.
So that means the RN's left with 5 30-knot plus capital ships with 15-inch guns, which is going to make them probably very happy. Because if that force rocks up, it can fight anything. It can fight what it wants. And if the situation becomes unfavorable, it just goes, speed! And just goes away. And there's nothing anyone else can do to stop it. Oh dear. What if the Washington Naval Treaty had a limit on 14-inch guns for all capital ships? Everybody walks out, basically.
Yeah, like Britain looks at whoever proposed that idea and probably slaps them. US just ignore it. Japan,
Oh no!
we never received an invite.
Oh no! No,
Like-
no, Dragon. They take turns. The British slap them first. The Japanese slap them second, and the US grab a baseball bat and hit them over the head with it.
Like,
And
no, honestly, actually, the one thing I see this happening is all of the participants in the room turn to look at France,
yeah,
because France is probably the one proposing this.
yeah,
because
and go, no, stop.
yeah, like, sorry, but
And
not a
how
chance
many
in hell.
times do we have to keep teaching you this lesson, old man?
Like, because that, to be fair, France is the only one who would benefit from the first treaty having a limit of 14-inch guns.
Yeah.
And after they've had this beating, they're crying in the corner of, why did nobody listen? We can't.
Where are we? So this is all.
Somewhere.
This is all in relation to. Here we go. Here we go. Next question is, your typical gunnery officer, what are your thoughts on the Gearing and Sumner classes? Do you think these classes ships came in service a bit too late, since the US needed 6 dual-purpose main guns in 1942 or so, since other navies had 6 more destroyer main guns at the time? Most navies were using 5 or 4 gun destroyers. There were a few 6 dual-purpose gun destroyers in other navies, but you don't really see the 6 dual-purpose guns in 3 twin turrets appear in a big way until the late, especially not on the Allied side, well, just generally, until the latter part of World War II. The Japanese technically have most of their destroyers with that layout, but calling the Japanese twin 5-inch dual-purpose is technically correct.
Fleet, might I introduce you to the J-class destroyer of the Royal Navy?
Yes, I'm aware.
Well,
That's right.
well, technically J, K, and N. 24 finished. 3 twin, 4.7-inch
Yes,
dual-purpose guns.
Dragon,
So,
I'm aware. However, you'll note,
1937.
yeah, Dragon, I'm aware. I'm also aware the Americans had a class of ship that was similar in that period. However,
No, they weren't dual-purpose at the time. The American ones weren't dual-purpose.
Yeah. However, you start to see that's 24 ships. That's a large number of destroyers, but it's a drop in the ocean of the Royal Navy's total destroyer numbers.
I would then bring up the L and M.
My point still stands.
It doesn't.
It
really.
does.
That you do see 6 twin or 3 twin destroyers make an appearance very early.
Dual-purpose destroyers. That's
Yes,
the thing.
these are dual purpose. These are dual purpose as much as most other guns are at this point in time.
But then the British have to go. The British then go back because of wartime constraints to building war emergency builds, which is understandable. But the point is that you see the modern dual-purpose destroyer arrive in 43, 44, 45. Battles, Darings, Gearing, Sumners.
Weapons.
Yeah. That's the point I was making, Dragon. Not that they didn't exist before, but the iteration that we're referring to of similar capability, that appears in 43, 44, 45. and you see it across the Allied navies, apart from the French, because well, they're not building any destroyers at this moment.
I would still argue that it was a thing a bit earlier than that.
I'm not saying that it wasn't
to the same level as the Gearings were.
Yeah,
I would agree that the Gearings probably did come a bit late.
No, I don't think they did. I think they arrived about when they should have done, because the Fletchers are one gun less.
Yeah, Darings were also post-war. Yeah, agreed, Scoot.
Yeah. I do think they came too late, though.
I don't.
Personally, I would agree.
I don't.
Now,
I would say, right. In hindsight, they came after the war that required their services in the role they were designed for.
This is not to say, though, they weren't excellent destroyers post-war.
Yeah, but
they were destroyers. The fleet
they just came a bit
had
too
changed
late.
by that point.
Yeah, you don't need my permission to search for ramblings. Like that's why I put them up. You're supposed to be looking at them. Alt JSDMF timeline 1947 guy.
You mean Reapers?
Yeah, the Doctor.
Where are they saying this? Knew you were going to say that.
Of course I am. But yeah, nothing wrong with the Gearing and Sumners. Perfectly good ships. But also, I don't think they came too late because of this wonderful thing. It's called a Fletcher, and it's basically just as
right.
capable.
This is why I actually would argue. If anything, that's more reason why I would argue that the Gearings did come too late, because the Fletcher was so good.
What do you mean?
Right. The Fletcher did an amazing job.
Yes.
I am never going to deny the Fletchers were very good in almost all regards. One or two might not be good.
So,
so let me finish. After this, you get the Alan M. Sumners.
Mm-hmm.
They were laid down in 43. Those make a bit more sense.
Yes.
The problem I have with the Gearing in particular is how late they were laid down and how the first ones were basically commissioned.
Well,
practically end of the war.
Well, yeah, there's a reason for that, because the Alan M. Sumners are the war builds. The Gearings are supposed to be
war builds.
Yes, but the Gearings are supposed to be taking the Sumner, which is a bit of a rush job, and building a mature ship designed not just for the World War II environment, but to be the foundation of the US's destroyer fleet in the post-war world. So so they take a bit more time with it, they work a bit more into it, they look at it a bit more closely.
That's why I would still argue that they came too late to be useful for what they were initially designed, because they were initially designed to fight in the war, they just came too late. This isn't to say they are a bad ship. They are an amazing ship.
Because I put them in the same category as I do the Darings. Too much too late. Very good destroyers. The war's over by the time they come in.
Yeah, but that doesn't. I personally don't think they're late because if they're late, then they're needed, but they're not late. So yeah,
I'd argue they were needed because they were laid down, ordered, and constructed to a need.
Yeah, but
it's like fleet. I can order 17 tons of concrete. I don't need 17 tons of concrete powder. But if it's to arrive on Wednesday and it arrives on Thursday, it's still late.
Yeah, but then they weren't. They were laid down, commissioned, complete. They weren't late in their construction.
They were laid down in 44.
Yeah, they weren't late in their construction though. They were built on time. By that.
Yes, but as in overall, but considering they were initially designed for the war, at least the first batch.
Yes.
Is why they were a bit late, because by the time they were the first few entered service, the war was done.
Yeah, but that would require this feels like I don't know because that would require how do I put this?
Yeah, I literally just said the Darings were late. Too much, too late. Because what the Royal Navy needed the Darings to do, and why the Darings existed, that need no longer existed.
There is to a degree, the same thing happened with the Gearings, but the Gearings then had much better upgrades.
Because the gearings, if I remember correctly, in their World War II form were much more geared towards surface combat
Yes, they are.
and heavy anti-aircraft.
Yeah.
Instead
Straight
of
up.
the fleet escort role.
Yeah, the thing.
And the role of the the role of the destroyer as anything other than an escort is over by the end of World War II.
So I think
They came too late.
So I think it's split then. The summoners are too late. The gearings are right where they need to be.
I don't know if some of them come first.
Yes, they do, and they're right on the boundary.
Yeah,
Because
other way
a
around,
number of them were commissioned in 44.
if we're going
And
by
were used.
if we're going by role, which is what we seem to be gravitating towards, then I will agree. The summoners arrive too late because the role they're designed to fulfill doesn't exist. The gearings, however, because of their focus on ship-to-ship combat, basically being able to operate as an independent asset as well as a fleet escort, they're not too late. But the summoners, I will absolutely agree.
The summoners at least did actively see major combat.
Yeah,
though.
but we're not
Yeah,
talking
fleet-
The
about...
number
Fleet-
of means. But
I would agree with you if we were just talk about the modified gearings, but the gearings as designed were late. The gearings that were modified into dedicated escorts, yeah, you're pretty much correct.
I would argue like any of the ones that started the 46 conversion process were definitely not late because by that point their roles had changed.
Yeah.
I would. As for the summoner, I mostly agree with you, Fleet, but a couple of them did manage to get in. They were managed to get out quickly enough to be used in the role they were intended. I would argue they're literally on that last boundary. If it literally even came a couple of months later, you would be entirely correct. So it ever so slightly still in that last sort of hurrah of they were useful to, then they came far too late.
Yeah, but at this point, you're being pedantic, Dragon. Even I'll say that.
Yeah, but I'm just explaining the point, because, that's what we kind of do. Also, Fleet's being quiet, which is strange.
I think he's had a mental breakdown.
No,
Anyway, give us
I
questions.
suspect he's had to just do something. Well, Fleet's apparently found... Yeah, Fleet's probably still not got his way through all of them yet, so... Although I wouldn't call it bickering, I'd actually call this a proper discussion.
I try my best to answer, as people know, I try my best to answer more questions as best I can. However, I am not the best, because I try to get through the chat to make sure people's questions get asked, and because I try to answer people's questions, I miss other questions. I'm not deliberately ignoring questions. I've never deliberately ignored a question in my life.
Was that brought up?
Alt-JSDF timeline 1947. Doctor said, I think the Littorio question is being left. I'm going to call him that now, just because it's a meme at this point.
You've already said that you're doing it to annoy him.
Not to annoy him, but it's just...
them.
It's a running gag.
I don't...
It's a running
What would a
gag.
post-war development of the Akizuki look like?
Where are we?
Ooh, sorry, that's literally the right now one. So keep going through the old one. That's an interesting one.
A personal conversion of the Akazuki. Some very fine tableware.
Funny but true.
That's it. We'll get to that one later.
Where are we?
I don't know. You're meant to be
Daring
questions.
is post-war. Look, I have to win certain debates, alright? I can't lose everywhere. I already lose at War Thunder
Fleet,
enough.
it's not Fleet, I genuinely wouldn't call this a win-lose situation, though. Like,
it's more
an
just,
argument you might be able to say you win or lose.
what
But
if
an
the
actual debate,
Washington-
I genuinely enjoy what you say.
what
you
if
know.
the Washington...
But Fleet, remember,
Wait, no,
as long
Fleet's
as
got
you
a
get more engagement, you win.
Where's...
Gotta get those clicks.
I'm up to date, and I can't see this Akizuki question.
Are you? It's 1919. What would a post-war development of the Akizuki look like? It's literally 2 posts up from the bottom.
Oh, there we go. Fuck, I'm blind. What would a post-war development of the Akizukis look like? The problem we've got...
Is this right? So first of all, are we assuming Japan has been allowed to actually keep a navy?
Okay, yeah, okay. This can go 3 ways. Has Japan won the war? which is one option. Has Japan been allowed to keep a small maritime self-defense force from the start? Or is it as historical? Because for each of those three outcomes, it goes differently.
Because
Actually, just a quick thing before we do this, Dragon. What do you think the you know, you have HMS and USN.
Yep.
What do you think would be like the little title card of the American Occupation Force of Japan?
Right. So,
I don't know.
good question. But because technically speaking, what would a post-war development of the Akizuki look like? You could potentially see, and I kid you not, the Super Akizuki. Yes, that is technically its official name.
There was a 5-turret
also known as the
version
Akizuki
proposed.
Kai.
Yeah, there was a
A
5-turret version
5
proposed.
or 6 turret version.
5 turret seems more reasonable as a step up. 6 turret creates
I think the
problems.
plan... Yeah, well, the plan was
That was
basically...
to go full anti-air Dakar, wasn't it? Fuck
Yeah,
torpedoes,
yeah.
all anti-air Dakar.
Yeah, it
yes,
was.
Brackman. Kitakaze and Haragumo sort of represent the mid and then actual stage. And then you do have the weird 6-gun variant, which is, as I said, very strange. Or 6 turret, sorry, not 6-gun. As for going off the point of basically they're allowed, by the sounds of it, they're allowed to keep a small amount of flotilla based on what is still floating. Then there's probably not going to be. I honestly see there being trouble with Japan keeping a domestic arms industry. I'm not sure if you agree with that, Fleet. Like the question is basically how hard is the US controlling them? If they've been allowed to keep a small defense fleet, basically you might see them go with US stuff more.
No, I reckon you'd have to because the Japanese armament industry ceases to exist.
Yeah. So potentially the yards might be untouched, but the actual production's got the problems.
No, the yards have been flattened, and the companies, aside from mainly Mitsubishi, don't exist in functional form anymore. And even then, Mitsubishi isn't making anything.
Theoretically, you could see a very cursed version with using 5-inch 38s.
Like, that's probably the only version you see.
Yep.
I'm not sure I'm not sure you see twin 5-inch 38s on the Aki. I suspect you probably see singles.
Dragon Mark has twin 4.5s.
No.
Would be amazing.
They probably
then again, I'm sure certain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that the Japanese at least got a couple of the 5-inch 54 singles.
Honestly, if we want
on
to,
some of the much later stuff.
If we want to go realistic, as a post-war development of the Akizuki, you're probably looking at a ship that uses the Akizuki's hull, or a design very similar to it, has no torpedoes, has a great deal of depth. I mean, I'm just being realistic here, as in what the Allies will probably omit. Has a great deal of anti-submarine kit, and carries at most 3 single 5-inch 38s. It's no threat to an Allied ship, but it's useful. I might see an allowance for a 4th. I still think that's
depending on design.
Because then that ship might reasonably...
Well, this is assuming... it won't reason. This is assuming that they're allowed to refit some of their old stuff. So basically, take the twin 100s out of the Akis and say, because I think they did have a couple of Akis left after the war. Literally, rip the old turrets off, stick single 5-inch 38s. You've got 4 mounts, you probably see.
When is this being done though? Because the Japanese government ceases to exist for about a decade.
I'm assuming this is probably like 48, 49-ish, when there's at least some government forming. If we're being really generous, they've got a couple of other cruisers potentially, but even then, I suspect you're going to have issues there as well. So just keeping with the Aki, I agree with Fleet. I don't think it's got torpedoes. All its 25s are gone. I'm not sure you necessarily do see 40 mils. You might see 20s, but I don't know if you can fit 40 unless you go with the, as Fleet suggested, 3x1 design. Because then you could stick a quad 40 at the back, or wherever you basically didn't put the turret.
Dragon cursed idea, just everywhere. Twin auto 3-inch.
Don't think you could fit that, unfortunately, on the Aki though. Not in many locations.
You could just replace the main turrets and everywhere there's anywhere flat, automatic 3-inch.
But the idea is probably it wants at least a couple of main guns.
Yeah.
What you could actually see
automatic 3-inch is good enough to fight off small craft.
USS Monaghan? think, is it? Yes. There was a modification to certain Farragut's which just removed the aft turrets and stuck tons of AA and depth charges. So potentially what you might see is 2x1 5-inch 38 on the front and the back just being AA and anti-sub. And who knows, with the reduced crew complement probably needed, they might actually have some semi-decent quarters. Also, Flutes went silent again.
I'm just letting you guys talk.
Yeah, but it's still useful to have you also comment on this as well. Especially when I
Okay,
keep referencing you being similar to they did Harakazi High School Fleet.
We've got three situations. We've got three. So, least likely it's the Super Aragomos.
Yeah.
Most medium likely it's they get a whole bunch. They get some 5-inch shot and some bottomless or 3-inch automatics.
Basically, they get a US refit, basically.
And most likely they get turned into kitchenware.
I said, going off the idea that they've been allowed to keep it, you probably are seeing a limited number of guns, no torpedoes, stuff like that. And yeah, exactly as Scoot said, you're not seeing British guns on these. Unless the US goes completely mad and drags the Japanese along with them, saying, "You're now buying from them, have fun." Honestly, the crown colony of Scoot, the crown colony of Japan has a nice ring to it.
Because the only way I can see them getting British guns is if they're doing this in the early 50s, and the British are selling off all those 4.5 turrets that they made. And they're selling to everyone that will buy them. And they're selling cheap. And 5-inch 38s and 54s are expensive. 4.5s aren't at that point. Shit! Fucking Cerberus!
What?
Yeah, trying to race the Cerberus 12 speed.
Well, we've actually caught up with questions, which is rare for me.
Well, no, this is what happens when you actually, when you just have a long ramble. People start actually thinking about the question that's being talked about. What the Washington Naval Treaty was signed in 1919?
It can't be really signed in 1919.
No.
It's not possible.
That's the war still going on in the negotiation time.
And, there's also the whole Russian Civil War going on as well, and also people are still
Russia's not
building...
really involved. Just trying to think what...
It's all the fact that all the parties read, we should probably demobilize before we talk about this. Otherwise, it could get a bit messy.
Screamingly. What if the Battle of Tsushima occurred with modern Japanese maritime self-defense force and the Russian Navy?
The Japanese maritime self-defense force wins again for...
No, the Russian Navy wins because Kuznetsov gets sunk. It's a net positive for them.
That's a negative, but anyway.
Right. I'm just going off the idea of what they actually might have. I'm not the most up to date with modern forces, but I don't know how well the Russian stuff would do. Also, it also depends on engagement rate. If it's literally they're slapped into the same positions in Tsushima, then the actual main guns might be used in anti-surface duty, which would be horrifying.
Okay. This question is a big asterisk. Are we talking about what the Russian shit can do on paper, or what we think they can do in reality?
Also, do they have Kaga and Izumo?
Well, they're going to have them anyway.
Because if they do, then the Russian fleet's having a bit of a bad day as well. You okay, fleet?
I'm fine. I'm just talking.
You're just making noises, so it sounds like you've got a headache or something.
I'm having a drink.
Close enough to having a headache, right?
How much of an impact would the Farragut's have had in World War One if they were built instead of the Tucker class?
I'm just trying to figure out what the Tuckers even are.
They're flush deckers, aren't they?
Yeah, and apparently it's which Farraguts? Do you mean the World War II Farraguts? Yeah, they were the
If
first.
it's a World War II farragut, the Americans scream in a corner.
Yeah, but they were the first flush deckers that exceeded 1,000 tons.
Was there. No wonder I've never heard of
Oh,
them.
glorified torpedo boats.
No, come on, it's over 1,000 tons. It's definitely a destroyer. We're not Germany.
As much as I want to disagree with you, Fleet, I think you are definitely correct. They are, like, the 4 single guns, even if they do have, 4 twin torpedo launchers, I would agree these are proper destroyers at this point.
Basically, because of the fact they can actually go places.
Yeah.
Do things.
I was making a joke about everyone calling flush deckers at that point torpedo boats. Aside from the Americans.
There's a difference when the flush decker is 1,000 tons.
I'm sorry. You are at large torpedo boat.
Right. The only problem I have to question, Draken, is how did the US build the farragut's in World War One?
They don't have the kit or the tech.
Not dragon. We allow you to sit upon this council, but we do not grant you the rank of destroyer.
Yeah. I said honestly, they would be amazing, but I just can't see the US building them because they can't really.
Yeah, because remember, the farragut's are fully welded construction. Welding in ship construction isn't really a thing. Right, it's there, but fully welded ships aren't really. And yes, there's exceptions. But early welding is...
Like, the Farragut was a very good step in the right direction for the US Navy. I'd say it was a brilliant sort of design for when it was. But again, how are they building these? Like, on full load, they double the ton. The US all of a sudden have the best destroyer fleet in the world? Why? They might have a problem with the ammunition, but...
It's not about that, it's... The rest of the world wonders how America's got localized arc welding working.
Well, also keep in mind, at this point, as built, they've got the 5 single 5-inch 38s all center line. They've also got the 2 quad torpedo tubes center line. They've got a very long range. They go 37 knots at a sprint. Much better sea-keeping capability. They only have the, 50 cals at least, so they don't have ludicrously good AA, but still, like, all the gun feeds are armored. Right. These are amazing for them just to appear. The US probably starts studying them to figure out how did these work. Because, again, you're not going to have the torpedoes nor the shells really to keep them resupplied. But you are going to want to figure out how to do so. Also, I'm
just trying to think of the advancement in construction and metalworking and like welding to make them. How would that affect the rest of the American arms industry?
Probably a lot.
Like, making artillery pieces and large caliber artillery pieces much more reliable and massively increasing barrel life and breech life.
Okay, it's been rephrased apparently.
Yeah, that's what we're currently talking about.
I'm letting you to take this one.
Oh, you're doing this a lot all of a sudden. This is suspicious. Would be a lot worse if they got Fletchers instead.
Then it's not as bad. The Fletchers are much worse sea keeping.
True, but they get a lot of other tech with them.
Yeah. But it's tech they don't have context in World War I to understand properly.
True, but they will try and basically you go through them and figure out how do we get this to work. And then they still get the engineering advancements.
Yeah, the engineering advancements to make them. Then well done, Germany loses harder because the ships aren't what's matter if you give them the engineering advantage. It's good God America now can now outproduce everyone on the planet.
So I was more meaning the
time.
fact that they still got the welded hull, so they'll still have America figuring out how do you do the welding.
How to do
Yeah,
weld.
It's fascinating how you build ships. Actually, where's our resident welder? So he can teach us how to weld.
Weld.
Wield.
I want to talk Dutch things. Because I
Question,
have the
do you
Dutch.
think the F-16 was the best interceptor aircraft? No! The best interceptor aircraft was obviously the English Electric Lightning.
Yeah, you can't
joke.
stand there with the Delta Dart is a good interceptor, but the English Electric Lightning is
Because you either have to go for the English Lightning or the Swedish Dorito.
Yeah, thing is, the Delta Dart is a lovely, well-rounded interceptor that has potential. You know, it does things. The English Electric Lightning says, "I am an interceptor. I go fast. I take off fast. I carry just enough.
I climb high.
Yeah, I carry just enough weapons to defeat one aircraft or possibly two before I turn back and then do it all again."
Well, they probably got more than that. They get 2 missiles and then the cannons.
Yeah, but it's either that because remember they were intercepting U-2s before the SAM systems came into existence. Big
Also the
one
case
though, is the Swedish flying Doritos that intercepted and escorted SR-71s over flying through Swedish airspace. Those
Also,
things
you've
are fucking
also got the classic
interceptors.
thing
I
of
would
electric
point
lightning.
out that
I
the
just take
SR-71
off vertically,
probably
practically.
let them. It's an SR-71. I don't care. Like, I'm sorry, but
As someone who's had a chance to walk around an SR-71 and its engines, there's very little that catches one of those.
yeah,
Yes.
I know you're talking about the Dorito Fox, but I'm sorry to say, but the SR-71s must have let that happen
Yeah,
because
the SR-71s on its extremes of performance couldn't be intercepted. It's just they were very rarely at the extremes of performance. But that was just a comparison of the Dorito darts could get pretty much any aircraft in the sky.
yeah.
It's arguable if the Starfighter, the F-106 could. Was it the Vegan? I thought the Dragon also did it.
Possibly.
But even then, the Vegan, oh, beautiful aircraft. Like, if you want the double Dorito, the double Dorito. Sadly, that's a multi-roll, but I love a double Dorito. And also, is it just me, or rather aircraft with those little wings up forward? Canards, I think they're called.
You're referring to
Very
canards?
sexy. Yes, they're sexy aircraft that have the canards forward. The Virgins.
Canards.
Why did Saab have to fuck up so much and compare the fucking Gripen to the F-35?
Because they're... Well, I don't know. But the Gripen is a good 4.5 gen for entry level. Or it would be, you know, if the F-35 wasn't cheaper. Which is the funniest thing.
I mean... These with the F-35, from what we know, the cost of it's heavily subsidised for everyone else. So... But that's the F-35, we know jack shit about it, so... Could be talking out my ass. Fucking PS Bray. Can't we all get a hate message for PS Bray?
The man was deluded, but he is dead now.
Yeah. I will speak ill of the dead. I hate that bastard. I love me hopeless diamond.
You've known Fox so long enough to know by now she will hate on anything she desires to.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I love me hopeless diamond. I mean, fuck the aardvark, but me diamond. I had a model of that thing as a kid.
The Knuds. That's funny. What if the Bismarck replaces Nassau in Jutland? It wins. Just like every other one of those replaced scenarios.
No.
It wins.
Bismarck don't win.
Yeah,
If I've replaced that Jutland, it's in the fleet, and it's in the Grand Fleet. It's facing the...
It runs away as quick as it can.
And it
uses radar fire control.
Which Bismarck did have.
But didn't she shoot once and then knock it out?
No, she was...
No.
She
Oh,
did.
that Scharnhorst.
No, you're right. You're semi-right. Bismarck did fire her guns and did damage her radar, but
she was
it wasn't
firing
enough
over...
to disable it.
Yeah, but also she was firing over the shoulder, basically. So the forward turrets were against the stops, and she was firing over the shoulder. At literally the worst possible angle that she could
Honestly,
have picked.
her commander probably should not have fired that shot.
No.
Right?
But
They probably would have been better off if they waited a bit longer.
Yeah, but in normal combat, if she's firing broadside or normal angles, there's no risk of her damaging her radar with her guns.
I know fuck all about the Bismarck class, so I'm just going to let you answer that one.
I mean, I already have. She's basically able to do... For as long as her main gun ammunition holds out, she just does whatever she likes. She ramps up to 30 knots and goes... doing whatever she likes, because... If she gets,
battlecruisers are the only thing that can keep up, and I do not fancy those battlecruiser chances.
No, they can't. Nothing can catch her, apart from the destroyers. Even the fastest capital units on either side can't catch her.
Like, Tiger pushing it with draining her core hands to death could do 29.
Yeah, Bismarck will easily do 30. And that's her normal.
So she's flat out at 30, won't she?
Well, yes, that's her flat out normally, without her straining her engines. If she pushed herself, I'd have no doubt she can do 31, 32.
Just like the Admiral class doing 34 and the Iowa's doing 35.
Yeah, basically.
But
again, in the First World War, that's just uncatchable speeds.
Honestly, anything from World War II of a decent size being sent back to Jutland is just not fair.
The worst ship to send back to Jutland for either side, well, the worst ship for whichever side it's facing, is the Yamatos. That's a fight they thrive in. That sort of close range.
You could say that for any of the big battleships.
No, but the Yamatos especially, because it's... Their mix of armor, protection, and firepower just works in that battle.
Yeah, but you can say that for any of the modern capital ships of World War II.
The
Iowas? Guns aren't doing fuck all to an Iowa. The Iowas. Guns are going mad.
If it's
at battle ranges, at least.
Yeah, if it's the Q, well, I think if it's the British, the green boy, the shells are going to have problems because of the broken shells.
Even then, the German guns aren't going to do shit. I was protected from the modern 14-inch shells, at least.
Let's suppose Gunner officer has a question of: Do you think the Japanese army was gone?
Do you think the Japanese army was overconfident and underestimated the U.S. Marines and Army, and also the Australian New Zealand forces in mid-1942 while fighting them on Guadalcanal and New Guinea respectively? I have no idea. I would have to go and look up reports and writings by the officers and men of the Imperial Japanese Army regiments that were stationed there. And I don't have access to that information, nor do I have any idea where to start looking for it. And without that information, I don't feel confident making a call on that, because it requires going into personal motivations and personal opinions of the people who were there, who were real people. Basically, so I don't feel confident answering that. I mean, if you two want to have a crack at it, you can, but I don't feel.
Outside of my knowledge.
I would say no, that they didn't underestimate them, because anyone who underestimates an opponent on the field of battle fucking dies, and the guy next to him learns to not do that. Like, war is the ultimate meritocracy.
Indeed, it is. Also, Guy, I only have. Oh, he's not here anymore. Saj. Oh no, he's in the chat. He's in the audience. Gunnery officer, that wasn't underestimating the allies. That was just Japanese doctrine and focus on aggression kicking in.
Yeah, because it's also a case of, and sort of doctrinally knew, it once they got pushed onto the defensive, they lost the fucking ball.
Yeah, it's also worth pointing out that a lot of these Banzai charges that they did were designed to attempt to use overwhelming surprise and violence to push American troops off islands. That was why they persisted with it for so long.
But it's not even that, it's the charge, even as far as World War II, is still something you do when you're in no man's land between your position and the enemy position.
And if the Japanese the fact that the Japanese are screaming Banzai doesn't change the fact that it's a regular charge, same as everything else.
Yeah, because the Royal Marines shouted, "Charge!" So did the Gurkhas shouted in their police, and were fucking terrifying, but they did the same thing. To the point of, even in the Cold War, you had charges and bayonet charges. Because if you're in a bad position and you need to charge. Including one funny time the British Army did it against the Taliban in Afghanistan. That's the...
Would the Japanese have used Panzer 2s and 3s if they managed to go stockpile 2,000 Panzer 2s and 500 Panzer 3s in December 1941?
Yes, they would have done.
They would probably regun them, but yes.
No, but regun them.
They would.
No,
I mean,
just ship them straight off to China.
Yeah, I mean, if they've got the...
With what ammo?
Well, the ammo they came with.
Yeah, it's 20mm ammo.
Right. No, it's not just 20mm, right. For the Panzer 2, it's 20mm ammo. Panzer 3, by December 1941, it's 50mm ammo.
Well, the Japanese can regun that with a 47. But the...
That's what I'm saying. They probably will want to swap them out to their things more effectively.
The machine guns will have to be changed. Just that's got to be changed.
It's a case of, if you give them all those tanks, that just makes China's life even more hellish. Because now, fuck, what they're called? The Japanese garrison posts in China.
Oh yeah.
Fuck. Why isn't Moe here? He knows the exact name for them. But them having even if it's a single tank each, would make the partisan movements that much more deadly.
Actually, you were saying about the ammo for the Panzer 2, Foxo. The Panzer 2 actually wouldn't have that much ammo. Each tank only carried roughly 180 rounds of ammo for their 20mm. So the Japanese probably would try and swap it out for a 25 or something.
No, the Japanese have a 20mm.
Yeah, the Japanese have 20mm ammo.
But
it's also still a different gun, which is the only issue they'll encounter.
The Japanese would... knowing the Japanese, they would re-gun the Panzer II with the 37 off the hard-go, and they would re-gun, even if it means fitting a new turret, and they would re-gun the Panzer IV with a 47.
Yeah. Would they use Crusaders and Churchills?
Same thing,
yes.
re-gun them.
Yeah.
The Japanese, given how much they adored captured Matildas in Burma, they would adore the Churchills.
Also, gentlemen.
Because if you want the best tank to fight in China, it's the Churchills.
Very nice. I mean, the funniest thing here... I mean, the next question is...
What do the Japanese have? I got a Fletcher.
The Japanese have a Fletcher. They
Yeah.
they tear it apart. They display it as a trophy piece for a bit, then tear it apart to find out what makes it tick.
And then it gets pushed into service and sunk by the USN.
Well, no. Once it's torn apart, it's kind of hard to put it.
It depends how much they tear it apart. If they tear apart the engines and the radar and such, yeah, they're just going to leave it all to tear it apart for actual scrap.
Yeah.
But it's still a hull. They'll put their own shit on the hull and go.
They're running out of engines. They're running out of engines. And other.
They don't have much left to put on them.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, but if they're doing it to capture World War One era British and American destroyers,
that's at the beginning of the war.
They're going to do it to the Fletcher as well. It's still a big hull.
If they've got the resources, yes. If not, they'll probably just scrap it for resources.
Sufficiently nautical arts. If the tendency of smaller treaty navies is to cheat by making bigger ships, well, that depends. Why didn't the interwar treaties allow cruisers to max out at just being smaller than a capital ship? Maybe a 10-inch gun limit with a tonnage to match. At least this way, cheating by making an overbuilt cruiser basically means building a battleship with all the associated costs that smaller navies weren't as equipped to afford. You do realise that the smallest of the smaller navies is Italy. And I don't think anyone would argue that Italy can't afford that Italy or France couldn't afford to run a ship like that, or even a few of them.
The problem is if you allow them to build 10-inch guns with equivalent tonnage to match, anyone who is cheating will go off that and then just cheat harder and build something bigger again. Probably.
Yeah, this is the thing.
At that point, you don't have a cruiser; you have a battle cruiser.
At this point, yeah,
the treaties want to specifically restrict battle cruisers.
The problem is also the smaller navies didn't really cheat as much, honestly.
The Italians just said we don't care and just flat out lied. The Japanese
cheated by saying, yeah, no, we're lied. Arguably, the British and the Americans also were cheating with Britain's water displacement, and the US also had a cheat they used as well.
I mean, the Italians stopped bothering when it came to cruisers.
The Americans just await their ships with all the essential, perishables removed. Oh no!
I think they also had another cheat
without fuel,
which has been mentioned
and without water.
Clocks. But yeah.
What's that? Sailors need beds? No, they don't.
Also, it's not really the associated costs the navies aren't able to afford, because if you think about it, France still builds 2 Dunkirks and 2 Richelieus, with a plan to build 2 more Richelieus and up to 4 Alsace. In terms of affording, it was still something that could be done. France had the issue of dockyards primarily and problematic governments and bloody design by committee. Italy also had the problem of dockyards. Even running in service wouldn't be a problem, really. Once the ship's actually built and done, no nation that signed the treaty could not afford to build a ship like that and run it easily. Yeah. I said, France had so many preliminary designs for the Dunkirks, for instance, that they were planning to build.
You have to remember, everyone who signed the treaty operated dreadnoughts. And the dreadnoughts were fucking expensive for that time.
And while the French ones might not have been great, they did still have a semi-reasonable sized dreadnought fleet.
They were far more expensive than they were worth, but that's French ships for you.
But it's actually built, in my opinion, they actually built some quite nice looking dreadnoughts.
No. The issue with French ships looking good is that they don't build any battle cruisers. Therefore, they automatically lose.
I genuinely think the Britannies actually are a nice looking ship. Britannia?
It's Brittany's.
No.
Yeah,
I'm going to call them Bretagne, because I've always heard them referred to as Bretagne.
You call them Bretagne, I'll throw Hosh at you.
Do it. And Hosh will collapse under its own weight, because its armor's so terrible, its design's problematic. They've been over this.
Girl. I don't want the Hosh ship girl, but it's bearing down on me.
Don't worry, you've at least got a good number of months yet.
Good.
We have to wait for
But
Soul to
in
finish. Goal.
because also keep in mind another thing is that France had planned to build the Normandies and all sorts. They also had various issues there, including money. But by the point that the what's it called other treaties actually were signed, Dunkirk's well on the table. And I said, honestly, allowing up a 10-inch gun limit with tonnage to match sounds like whoever is cheating will just take that and cheat harder. Also, you then might have various other navies going, well, held up, why are they allowed to build this when we're not? Because theoretically, a 10-inch armed cruiser will be much more powerful than our 8-inch armed cruisers.
Yeah, basically.
Therefore,
this is the
we
thing.
would need to bring one of our heavier units out to deal with it. So why should they be allowed to build them and we're not? We want this as well. Back forth. No one's happy.
The biggest issue would be, what if we use the displacement of the 10-inch cruiser for an 8-inch cruiser?
Also, yeah,
And then you get something like the fucking Clevelands and their successors. AKA somewhat fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Any cruiser that's with the
Honestly,
pre-World War II.
in an awkward situation, you could probably see B-65 style things come about. Basically, a large cruiser / battle cruiser, which is 3 turrets of large caliber gun plus extra.
I can't know.
I would say it's nation dependent. Because
Yeah, 'cause-
you've got stuff like Carnot, which is a Dunkirk prelim, and that's roughly the same displacement as a B-65, which then later does evolve into Dunkirk as we know it. They just basically put bigger guns on.
Because the main issue I see with that is, like, cool, but have the same issues the BT heavy cruisers have. But I just think you'd get bigger 8-inch cruisers that the great powers would hate because they can bully several of their 8-inch cruisers by themselves. Because, hey, they can actually protect themselves from their own guns. They have enough guns. They're not horribly constrained and mutated abominations. Like the Pepsi Colas. I do think you'd end up with something like what happened with the towns. You get a hull the size of a heavy cruiser or this large cruiser, but instead of having 10-inch guns, you have 8-inch. Right, the towns had 6-inch, but a heavy size of a heavy cruiser.
Do you think the US has the most suitable tanker ships fighting the War Pacific nations? No, I'm going to try and pronounce that one since they could cruise at high speed and keep up with counter task forces.
The US didn't have the US didn't have any carrier task forces that could keep up. Keep up behind. Sorry. The US did have the most suitable tanker fleet for fighting the Pacific War because they built it to fight that exact war.
Yeah,
right.
But they never had enough of them.
Yes, they never had enough of them.
And
right.
also, special shout out to SS Ohio on that question.
Hey.
Because that oil tanker took more hits and more damage in a single operation and survived than it took to sink in some aircraft carriers.
Hey. Right, folks. It's been 2 hours. I'm going to cap it off here with a nice round 2-hour mark. I do have an announcement, though. Next week, I will be in Finland. So, no ramblings. So, there will be no event this weekend, and there will be no... So, there'll be no Friday event, there'll be no Saturday event. There'll probably be no Thursday event either, because I am travelling at 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday. No, not to Finland with Drag. They will get to Finland after I've left Finland. So I'll be back sometime in July, but so there'll probably be something on Tuesday because there's no Thursday event. So Railroader will probably be run on Tuesday. There'll be something on Wednesday, and then that'll be it for about a week, and you'll not see me. I leave you in the capable hands of my associates, who have...
Do you want us to run the events?
Please do.
Like, I was going to say, we could easily do the Saturday one.
Yeah, please do. I'll even let you
Fair
guys.
enough.
I'll even let you guys do a replacement for Ramblings. Don't let me down.
Why did you have to say that?
Can we prototype it today?
No,
No.
I'm leaving. I need food.
Thanks everyone
No,
for
you
coming.
don't.
I hope you've all had
Bye.
a great time. Apologies for there will be no lack of content over the next few weeks. No YouTube content either, sadly, because I'll be in Finland. You never know. Might